Jeff Koenig, Property Prep, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, coming back to you on a Friday for another video. I am excited today to talk to you about what makes a great maintenance technician. We're constantly hiring because we're constantly growing. And I was thinking to myself as I was going to bed last night, I need to write a new description for a job, and what are the main things that I need to hit? Because there are a lot of people who will tell you that they have drywall, painting, plumbing, minor electrical, the ability to install LVP flooring, some of the basics. A lot of what we do is simple stuff that other people don't want to do. Some of it is more complex with some of our more specialized technicians, but the basic stuff is basic, and we really are hiring for quality, and that really can't be sorted out in an interview. But what are the character traits that make someone great in the trades, and especially in the maintenance category? The maintenance category, unfortunately, has attracted a lot of people who have not made it in other trades, and we don't want those people working for us. We want people who are passionate about maintenance, people who are handy and mechanically inclined, and people who enjoy the variety and the complexity of solving a different problem every day and not a monotonous task like solely being a painter or a drywall finisher or a flooring installer. So when I really dug down into it, I came up with a few key qualities. And these are key qualities that I talk about to all my employees throughout my companies, as well as any sort of kids that I mentor or people who ask me what the key to success is in life and in business. And the first major thing that we need to talk about is showing up on time. If you show up on time and you have a good attitude, that's 80% of any business and any sort of interaction in life. I think that it's a lost art to be punctual, to follow up, and to have a good work ethic. So when we evaluate this when we're interviewing people, it's very simple. Do they show up on time? Do they wear something presentable? It's a casual environment. We don't expect people to wear a suit, but are their clothes dirty? And do they wash their hands? And do they, smell off or like stale cigarettes? Or do they present themselves well and they look like they didn't roll out of bed or out of the bar? That's the first thing. And that's the lowest bar here. The second thing we do is make sure that someone's making eye contact with you and shakes your hand, and you feel like that person is excited to be here for an interview and is excited to potentially work with your company. So once we have those two things established, we sit down. Is the person comfortable having a conversation? Because really, we're in the customer service business and we happen to fix things for a living. Most of our customers don't know how to fix something properly. They trust that we know, but they do know the difference between a good customer experience and a bad customer experience. So it's essential that we're providing excellent customer service because that's what they're experts in, and that it's fixed at the end of the day. That's almost secondary, but we will worry about that. The customer has to worry about the customer experience and if the person is being efficient and they are pleasant to be around. So past the introduction, we're then starting to ask people about their skill set. And do we want someone who says they're an expert in everything? Probably not. I've been doing this 20 years. I know the basics of everything, but I wouldn't tell you that I'm an expert at everything. I'm probably an expert at nothing, which is not great, but luckily I own the company and am not looking for a job, and I will not be showing up on your job site other than to do quality control and inspections and help you with troubleshooting solutions that may be a little bit more complex from my years of experience. But for a technician, we want to know what their strengths and weaknesses are. So we go through a list typically of the trades that we require basic knowledge of, and then rate them on a scale, how comfortable they are to how uncomfortable they are with each particular one, so we can figure out whether they're a match for our company and what we're looking for to fill in our roster as far as skill sets that we need and skill sets that we're already well staffed for. So if someone says that they're a 10 out of 10 on plumbing, I would expect that, for example, they have experience running a new water line and changing out a toilet and working on commercial Moen flush valves and understanding how a boiler system works and how indirect hot water heating systems work. Make sure that they know the right names for all the fittings and they're able to order them over the phone with our trade partners instead of trying to describe what's there or cutting the piece out and bringing it to the supply house and asking the person behind the counter to explain to them what needs to be done. So that's a 10 out of 10, and we don't require that. But we would love for someone to have an 8 out of 10 skill set in one of the things that we do, and then maybe a 5 out of 10 on the rest. And we can teach, or we can send them in a 2-man truck, or we can send them to jobs that are specifically catered to their skill set. Last week we had horrible 1,000-year rains, they say, in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where we're located. And we sent some guys out to a water call in a basement. And both of them sat there until, trying to pump it out until I got a photo of it and immediately knew that it was a sewer backup because we have combined sanitary and rainwater and not indeed a problem with the roof or problem isolated to just the flooding. The flooding in the basement was a result of the 11 inches of rain we had, but the real issue that started was tree roots in the sewer. And I knew that the second I saw that picture. So we really sent the wrong guys to that job, and that day we learned that those two people probably shouldn't be troubleshooting plumbing issues, but it didn't come out originally as a plumbing issue. So there is some nuance. We weren't able to charge the customer for most of the time and only for the drain cleaning, but that is something that you can't learn necessarily at an interview, but we do look for problem-solving skills. So one of the questions I like to ask at an interview is, what was a time at work where there was a problem that maybe you weren't an expert in fixing, and how did you go about fixing it? What steps did you take? And I want to hear about that time that you were proud of the solution that you came up with to a problem that you hadn't encountered before. And I think that's a great interview question for those of us who own trade-related and troubleshooting-related companies. And that's something that is really an illuminating answer when you hear that. The next thing we need to ask people is, what are you bad at? And some people will tell you they're not bad at anything. Those are not people you want to hire. I want an honest answer from people. Once we're past asking those few questions, we really want to make sure that the person, A, is interested in the job, B, is able to be a self-starter when they're working alone. A lot of people can't work alone and are usually on a bigger team at a bigger company and are not self-starters. So we need to make clear to all of our future employees that they're going to be working most of the time independently on a van. They always have a dispatch person available to them. They always have a manager available to them. They always have me available to troubleshoot. But by and large, they're on their own in the field. They have to be self-sufficient, keep track of the right materials, understand how to use technology well enough to clock in and clock out on our apps so that we're billing our clients reasonably, fairly, and with the GPS timestamps that are relevant to that job site, and then tracking materials so that we're not eating the material price and that it's passed on fairly to the customer and nothing else. So we look for that, and then we look for a history of honesty and a history of stability. We want people who don't job hop and people who are interested in a career and passionate about what we do. Also, for insurance reasons, we are looking for a clean driving record so that they're insurable, because all of our technicians drive beautiful company trucks, which I think we'll talk about in another video, and we will link it down below when that's published. And we also have a van tour of one of our vans that we'll publish down below. So in the end, you're never gonna hit it out of the park every time when you're interviewing people. But you want someone whose quality, shows up on time to the interview, is accountable for their actions, articulates their skill set well, and then at the end, hopefully they follow up with an email thanking you for your time or a call, which maybe I'm old-fashioned, but I think that that's something that you want. So hopefully these tips tell you a little bit about our hiring process. If you're a prospective employee, they help you if you're another facilities owner and you're interviewing people and it's hard to find people in the trades. Or if you're a customer, understanding the amount of time, effort, and responsibility that we take for everyone that we put on the road and bring to your job site or your business to make sure that they are successful, doing the work efficiently, and we are providing the best service at the best price. This has been Jeff Koenig on our weekly Friday video. This one may have not been as exciting for most of you who are used to some of our tool videos, but if you made it to the end, we so appreciate you liking, subscribing, leaving a message if you have some more interview tips on what questions we should be asking in an interview, and then hitting the bell notification if you want to see our video every Friday. We got some banging shorts that came out in the past. They haven't gotten much viewership. Would love for you to check those out. And if you're looking for a job in the Milwaukee area, come check us out, propertyprepllc.com, and we'll see you next Friday.